Well, he grew up in Kentucky, and his parents they did moonshine, and he grew up dirt poor. I mean poor. And, you know, he was like looking at a Playboy, and he's like, it just looks so fake and not, you know, there's some degree of authenticity that they're losing with this.
Nobody's reading it. Gentlemen, Playboy is mocking you.
He'd already had these little clubs, you know, where he'd had dancers, but then he decided to start Hustler magazine. It became successful, and it became a real political tool for him. Whether you like pornography, you hate pornography, whether you think a pornographer is... There's a lot about that magazine I don't like, but there's also a lot I admire, because he was bold, and he was fighting for First Amendment rights, and he was a thorn in the side of the state.
And it's beyond me to understand that how a country founded on the printed word, at its 200th birthday, that people can still be questioning what kind of book that you can read or what kind of movie that you can see. You know, when the government interferes in this, they're interfering with our thought process. No one has a right to do that. And if I have to go to jail to prove my point, I will do just that.
It actually was shortly after he offered $1 million for any information leading to the JFK assassination. Shortly after that, they tried to assassinate him. And the only reason he didn't die is because he had been fasting for 2 days. Because otherwise, because it shot into his intestine, and it would have leaked and it would have killed him. It caused a nerve damage. Then he was in excruciating pain. The doctors decided to cut that nerve to get rid of the pain, but then there was never a chance that he would walk again after that.
Personally believe this was done by the CIA or the FBI or elements within. I'm not accusing the leaders of any of these organizations, but the network of spying that we had going on and corruption in Washington, it's still there.
Well, I grew up in Texas, but then we moved to Ohio when I was 12, and then I'm in Ohio, and while I was there, this obscenity trial happened for Larry Flynt. And you talk about when the press decides to go after somebody and all the press is negative, well, you just absorb it. You can't help but think they're right.
The laws are not too difficult to enforce. All you need to put the pornographer where he belongs in jail is a good prosecutor, a willing prosecutor, and a capable court.
His wife Althea, his brother Jimmy, and Hustler official Al Van Schaik are being tried on charges of engaging in organized crime and pandering obscenity.
That this material is not available to people who really don't have any desire to see this. They're humiliated by it. Men as well as women now are being humiliated by this, and I wish I could give some examples on the air.
So I absorbed all that because I was right there near Cincinnati where he was having his obscenity trial. When the time came and I got offered by one of the greatest directors of all time, Miloš Forman, to do the part, and I was like, Jesus, this is a quandary. I got to go meet him. If I like him, I'll do it. If I don't like him, I won't do it. And I met him. And within 5 minutes, I'm like, not only am I doing the movie, I think this is one of the most unique, incredible humans I've ever met. Honesty like I've never seen from anyone.
And I'm proud to be a part of this fight for freedom. And anyone who would ask me to lay these principles aside, I say to them, in the language that I know best, 2 words: shove it.
I remember because Larry played the judge, who, by the way, he hated this guy. He was terrible, very conservative, prejudiced judge.
I will not allow them into evidence that are irrelevant to this case.
But we're either living in a free country or we're not. One of the greatest rights that any nation can afford its people is the right to be left alone. And the only thing that I'm saying to the censors is me and my 15 million readers deserve a right to be left alone. If you don't like Hustler magazine, don't read it. but don't try to tell somebody else that they can't read.
Could I please buy a copy of the Hustler magazine? Yes, you can, sir. Here is the Hustler magazine that I'm selling this month.
That's it. Larry Flynt, you're under arrest.
Miloš was one of the great directors I've ever worked with, and one of the great directors I think who's ever lived. Miloš let me, there was a whole scene that he let me direct and edit. You know, obviously he's gonna have the last say on everything, but he let me kind of put this whole thing together. It's Larry Flynt's on a stage and there's these images behind him, and so what those images were, you know, I actually went as far as like negotiating with agents of photographers. Can we use that for how much? But what I was gonna say was, because you originally asked me how different these improvised things end up being, how different a scene will be. And there's a scene where I proposed to Courtney's character. She played Althea Flint. And I had been very anxious about the fact that the scene was going to be shot just one camera, one way. But we were used to improvising because it was many months before we finally shot it. So that when that scene, he finally showed me 3 completely different scenes of the proposal. Yeah. So it did change quite a bit, and my God, was it was a blissful experience.
Would you marry me?
It's not funny, you're joking.
I'm not joking. Would you marry me? Would you do me the honor of becoming Mrs. Larry Flynt?
I think playing Larry changed me.
Just minutes ago, actor Woody Harrelson walked out of jail in San Francisco, arrested today after pulling a very big, very high-profile publicity stunt because the setting was the Golden Gate Bridge. This latest action adventure has nothing to do with Hollywood. Harrelson was doing it, he says, for the Redwoods. But some drivers, as you...
Because it was after playing Larry that I did the thing on the Golden Gate Bridge where I protested. We climbed up the Golden Gate Bridge to protest the logging of the ancient redwoods in Northern California. And I don't think I would have done that kind of shit. I got arrested for planting hemp seeds in Kentucky.
If you cannot afford an attorney, desire one, the court will appoint one for you.
But Harrelson wasn't surprised. In fact, the move was deliberate. He wanted to highlight what he called missed opportunity for Kentucky, growing hemp.
We're gonna let the government propaganda machine make us so paranoid about drugs that the environment and the economy and the farmers lose out on a fiber crop that is grown in 29 other countries.
All of that was influenced by playing Larry Flynt. And now I think I'm just a fucking pussy, you know, like an armchair activist.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, if you're going to talk about freedom, the ultimate freedom is freedom of expression, you know. And so here we are in a time that, I mean, it's still under attack, freedom of expression, maybe more so than ever. And what's happening with the internet, I mean, that remains to be seen. What happens? I think if there's any censorship whatsoever on the internet, it should be done in-house, you know. It should be taken care of in-house. It shouldn't be like the government has any say over it.
Big Brother again.
But I mean, you look at this. I mean, the reason we're using this poster is because they wouldn't let us use the other poster. The MPAA and Jack Valenti wouldn't allow it. Now, I don't understand that. You know,
Yeah.
Here we are, supposedly evolving, and it's what the movie's all about. To this area where we have free expression, genuine free expression, and they ban the poster, saying it's obscene when there's nothing on the poster you can point to and say this is obscene.